One of the things that really surprised me when I moved to Des Moines just 2 years ago was when I realized how diverse a community this is. I was looking for a way to keep the camera in my hand, build my portfolio, and just kind of learn about the community through my photography. I happened to read this article that was written by Professor Knepper. It was about the dedication of the Kwan Am statue down at the Buddhist temple in Southwest 9th. I went down the following day and ended up photographing for over 3 hours. The next day while I was editing my photos, I just emailed Professor Knepper, and we ended up meeting, and the book is actually his idea. The quote is that he couldn't figure out how to fill up the pages with words, and asked me if I'd be interested in collaborating with him. And we've been working on it now for almost 2 years.
The message is, hey, we're a lot more diverse than many of us thought, and that's a really good thing. And that's a function of the welcoming attitude the state has taken with regard to refugees and immigrants.
You know, you think about diversity, you expect diversity in New York City. You expect it in Miami, you expect it in LA and Seattle. You don't expect it in Des Moines.
Always the question comes up of how do we faithfully, no pun intended, represent the story of an organization in our community without presuming to speak for them, and how would they want to be addressed. And we were very sensitive to the fact that with 15 different faith communities, that approach would vary, and that we would have to work closely with those communities to make sure that we were doing it right.
I think it's a great collaboration between a community organization like DMARC and an academic program like the Comparison Project and Drake Community Press. I really think that this is going to have a lasting impact on the interfaith community of Des Moines. I think it'll be a starting place for people to learn more about the religions that are all around them that they might not see on a daily basis.
One of the things that I just think is fabulous is that people will be able to see for themselves what it looks like to be Sikh, or what it looks like to be Hindu, what it looks like to be Buddhist or Muslim. It's all so interesting.
We're teaching this team taught class that is kind of unusual. Professor Knepper has about 15 religion capstone students. So they're doing their senior project through this class. And then I have 9 or 10 English students who are serving as editors for the book.
The Comparison Project began as a lecture and dialogue series in comparative religion. At this point in time, we've got really two halves to the Comparison Project. We have the original lecture and dialogue series, and we have what came to be called the Religions of Des Moines Initiative. It dawned on me what we should do is we should teach Religions of Des Moines classes, educating Drake students about how these so-called world religions are practiced locally. So to focus on the spaces and the people and how they practice, less of a top-down, this is Buddhism, this is Islam, and more of a what goes on for these people in these spaces. And also to tell the stories of how these groups had come to Iowa.
The overall goal is that the religion capstone students will go out and do their research there's one for each of the 15 faith communities. And they are basically embedded in those communities.
As a research project, they all said that engaging in lived religion taught them more about religion than the books ever had.
You can make as many books about religion in the world, but I think until you meet the faces of the people in that book, I think that's when the rich dialogue happens.
I I never expected to be so welcomed in my community. Getting ready to start our research, we read a lot about kind of an insider versus an outsider perspective, and I've definitely become more of an insider than I expected.
I really enjoy learning how to interact with people while you're trying to research and trying to embed yourself in a community. It's kind of like a undercover detective, I feel like.
One of the most exciting things about the book project to me, beyond the way that Drake students are being able to be embedded in actual faith communities, which I think is fabulous, one of the things that really excites me about this is the visuals, the work that you're doing, the work that the photographer Bob is doing, that actually show people the visual reality of the faith traditions, which is just so cool.
Many of the Sikh members who are here keep telling me all the time that when we see those pictures of the kitchen, or if the food is being prepared or langar being served, that smell, that flavors, the noise, the din that comes out, it was amazing that it makes you feel that you are in that book, that picture,
Right.
that spirit. And our photographer Bob, I think, did a wonderful job of taking the angles and the pictures so well that it makes you feel that you're there.
I visit a community either without my camera or with never taking it off my shoulder, just to meet people. They begin to get comfortable that I'm there, to learn about the ceremonies that I'm going to photograph, make sure that they're comfortable with me running around with this big black thing in front of my face, and that they're going to have their picture in this book.
The process of producing this book may have as much impact as the book itself, if not more, in a number of different ways. And I think that its impact on specific students involved in its creation will also be pretty substantial. So with that in mind, it's already accomplished a great deal even before it's been published.
I work as a student editor that involves developmental editing and working with the researchers. So weekly they'll go to their prospective communities and gather all this information and then compile it into a field report. And then that week I'll go through and make notes and read through everyone so they can kind of learn where can they improve in their writing and where else should they research in the community, what's going to be the focal point for their specific community in this book, and especially in regards to the bigger picture and how their community is going to fit in with the rest of the religions.
Everyone involved in this project is both contributing to and benefiting from, is both teacher in some way and student in another way, is really what I love about the whole concept of the press. The Drake Community Press is a 2-year publishing laboratory that is curriculum-based. We partner with Iowa organizations that have a compelling story to tell. We provide students with hands-on experience, practical knowledge in book editing, design, and production with a cross-disciplinary and collaborative focus.
The class is going to be involved in the design and production primarily. So they're going to be coming up with ideas for the visual structure and visual organization of the book. We try to get as much information from the different people involved. That's kind of where that idea of wonder came from. Was like, what's your hopes for the publication? What do you want the publication to do? What do you want people to feel from the publication?
Looking back and thinking about all the different people who contributed all these little things into the process, and then you see all of it put together as a whole, and that is just a truly exciting thing. You can really see the fruits of your labor.
So all the proceeds from the book sale will go right here into the warehouse to pay for food for the DMARC Food Pantry Network. So right now we're serving about 42,000 people every year. So those proceeds from the book sale will help go right into our community, feeding those around us. And that's something that all the religions of Des Moines can agree on, is that we need to provide food for those who can't feed themselves.
DMARC stands for the Des Moines Area Religious Council, and we're actually an interfaith organization. Our actual mission is to end hunger The biggest part of our work is actually managing the food pantry network for Greater Des Moines. For instance, in the city of Des Moines, some of our schools actually have 90% who qualify for free and reduced lunch, so it's a huge problem. But what we do all tend to share across all faith traditions is a commitment to helping our neighbors, especially our neighbors in need.
I love what one person told me a long time ago. He says, people are the same wherever you are, they just look different.
Iowa and Des Moines has this reputation, Midwestern, white, rural. But in fact, when you realize that there's over 100 languages spoken in the Des Moines School District by itself, and there's over 80 birth countries represented, the religions aspect of this is simply a window to the larger diversity in the community.
We look at people who are other than us and blame them for things that are wrong with our society. And that's not helpful, it's not accurate. We don't have accurate perceptions of what the other faith traditions are like. We don't realize that there are incredible gifts and incredible insights in all faith traditions. So there are never enough opportunities for a community like Des Moines to actually talk together about the differences in what we believe and how those can support each other and support the community instead of being reasons for hostility.
Somewhere along the way, we've lost the edge of sharing, of sharing our faith unashamedly, but in love, with the grace and the wisdom and the and the tact.
Every culture, every religion is different in their own way, and it's just beautiful and vibrant, and I learned to appreciate it more.
It's so much more than words on paper. It's because it's about that practice, that embodied practice, and seeing how people live.
I think that diversity is richness, something that can guide us to have better life.
For study, no limit. If you learn more, you understand more. Then this will make your life better.
People think that Des Moines is all white Christian and there's no diversity at all. When you talk nationally, that's what they think. But the reality is we have more cultural interaction here than the vast majority of other places around the country, from what I've seen.
Consider other religion as a brother or sister. We always respect other religion.
One of my favorite passages is in Revelation. And where John says, I looked out and I saw a whole group of people that no one could number. And he said, and then he begins to say they were from every tribe, every language, every tongue, every whatever, every background. It reminds me of a glimpse of heaven.